Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Engineer Mustari Shahid, Chairman of IT and Computer Engineering Sectional Committee. Thank you for being here with us today. On behalf of IT and Computer Engineering Sectional Committee, I am pleased to welcome all of you today for the session on how Sri Lanka can be a global partner in driving AI and emerging technologies. So without taking much of your time, I would like to introduce our speaker today for the session. Dr. Mahendra Samaravikrama is the professional of the ICT Professional of the Year 2022. He is accomplished leader and entrepreneur with a proven track record of guiding vision, technologies, innovation, and transformation towards humanity, social justice, and sustainability. He is an executive director of the Center for Sustainable AI. He leads Australia AI. AI means artificial intelligence and data science strategy, while also developing capabilities for social justice and sustainability in AI data science through diversity, equity, and inclusion. He has contributed to ESG, AI ethics and governance, climate and disaster resilience, customer experience, and sustainability innovation. He is an author, inventor, mentor, and frequent speaker at various technology forums, conferences, and events around the world. He has a PhD in computer science as well as master degree in business administration and project management. So please drop your question in the chat box and we will be answered as soon as possible or at the end of the lecture. Once again, thank you very much and let us start the session. Dr. Mahendra, over to you.
Thank you, Shahid, for that introduction. Can we start now?
Yes, there is a message that there are going to be a power cut. One of them requested to start the session as soon as possible. So we have enough participants. We'll start, Dr. Mahendra.
Right, okay. You can see my screen, isn't it?
Yes, doctor, we can see.
Right.
You can put the full slide mode.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Today we are going to talk about Sri Lanka, emerging technology and sustainability in leadership, strategy and transformation perspective. I'm Mahendra Samaravikrama, Director of the Center for Sustainable AI in Australia. This presentation is for Institute of Engineers, Sri Lanka. In this presentation, we are going to talk certain concepts, and we will discuss why, how, and what they are important. These are important in various perspectives. Some are important in leadership, some are important in writing business case, and we will discuss certain frameworks, processes, which might be helpful for you. We are not going to deep dive in certain aspects, but we will try to understand some of the key success factors. Now, this presentation mainly focused on AI. And if we think a little bit why AI, many developing economies identified the potential of AI. It can be enhancing the productivity of a business. It can be enhancing customer experience or brand of a business, or it can be data-informed decision making. Or it can be a new revenue stream. Whatever method, AI has been identified as a key success factor. And if we look into the new patents coming over the past years, we can identify it is growing and it will add a lot of contributions to the global economy. Now, if we look into the how AI is contributing to the for different region of GDPs of the different regions in the world, we can see that developed countries and developing countries has some discrepancy, and you can see like quite developed countries get more GDP growth than developing countries. There are reasons for that, but because of this reason, that there is a requirement that any country focused on AI to achieve the relevant economic and sustainability goals. And many organizations and countries identified AI as uh, a strategic component of their business governance or future focused strategies. Now, when it comes to governance of a business, there are various perspectives that AI support. Now, if you look into this framework, we are looking AI ethics frameworks of the World Economic Forum. You can see they discuss many dimensions: customer strategy, brand strategy, and competitive strategy, operation strategy, technology strategy, and sustainability and culture. Now, I will initiate this discussion from the bottom two pillars, indicate sustainable development and people and culture, because they are a single point of failures that if we not address the AI in right way, those two pillars are crucial for the success. Now, unlike any other technologies, AI has its decision-making, automated decision-making capability, and it influence on the culture, sustainability, and health and well-being, and many aspects. Now, AI has identified like a factor which enhance the global GDP by 15% by 2030. And also there are risks related to AI. Now, because of this, anyone who work on AI should look both benefits as well as risks. It has identified many AI projects fail because of biases in data teams or leadership. Because of that, we don't want to fall into those pitfalls. It is important we identified the success factors and address and methodically build this capability. And in long run, it will add quite economic and social prosperity. Now, I think that you all heard about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals. These are established in 2015 by the United Nations as their 2030 agenda. And the idea is bring prosperity for people, planet, and the environment. It has been identified 79% of these sustainable development goals can be achieved through AI and the data science. So, and because of that, it is important we try to apply AI. That means if we have the AI capability, apply AI on these sustainable development goals to achieve the relevant outcomes. Now, if you focus these 17 sustainable development goals, you can see, irrespective of your industry, one or many sustainable development goals relevant to you. It covers quite broad spectrum, and if you focused the emerging concept like environmental social governance or social impact or social justice kind of concepts, this can be identified as a fundamental framework underpin those social justice and diversity, equity, inclusions, and all other social concepts. Because of that, having good understanding of this sustainable development framework is very important. Now, this is, as I mentioned, like it identified 79% of these sustainable development goals can be achieved through AI. And because of that, we need to focus data and data driven emerging technologies to achieve these sustainable development goals. Now, there are various opportunities in the United Nations, in United Nations, for us to work collaboratively, and articulating projects and get partnered with other countries and other stakeholders. And I believe that will add quite a lot of resources in countries like Sri Lanka, because we have quite diversified industries and perspectives, and because of through these sustainable development goals, we can partner and collaborate with other countries and find solutions to global challenges. Now, as I mentioned, this framework is kind of a global vision. From United Nations agenda of 2030, every country and stakeholders expected to work on these sustainable development goals. Because of that, it's a global vision, and we can adapt this to drive the local problems in a collaborative way. Now, if you want to, this slide I add, if any one of you want to articulate a project for the United Nations, there are quite a lot of opportunity. If you go into United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, I will show a couple of them. There are various opportunities you have to articulate project and drive a project. For that, you may need to write a small proposal, and these frameworks you can use to write a proposal. This is very common two frameworks, pestle analysis and SWOT analysis, which you can think political, economic, and social, technology, environment, and legal problems that you have or country have, and then you can think of our strength, weakness, and what are the threats and opportunities in this analysis, and then you can identify the key success factors. In that way, you can easily write a proposal for United Nations and establish partnerships or collaborations to solve those problems. And there are many other tools like those tools, and this double diamond design process is something quite helpful for you to identify a particular problem from many problems having many opportunity cost. You can identify a specific problem, and then you can find out many solutions, and then you can eventually think of a specific solution. So this is addressing what is the nature of the problem and what are the impact that if we solve that problem from a very broad problem space, and then we consider various options that we can apply on the selected problem, and then we find out particular problems. I have added that two slide because while we having discussed the broad concepts, it is equally important having these presentations and communication skills for the, if you write a proposal for United Nations, like methodical writing to communicate these ideas. Now, other key success factor that Sustainable Development Goals focus is diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm sure you know by now it is discussed in many organizational cultures, the diversity, equity, inclusion, and values and purposes. Now, as suggested in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, you can see the fifth Sustainable Development Goal is a gender equality, and the 10th Sustainable Development Goals is reduce inequalities. Now, why, if we think these two sustainable development goals, they are crucial to mitigating the risks of biases. And it is a single point of failure if our teams or if our ideas doesn't represent the diversity, equity, inclusions, and if we are not reduce the inequalities when we ideation of our problems, we might fall into these critical errors. We don't want to happen that. Because of that, we need to always self-aware, and we should have emotional intelligence to understand what are the diversity, equity, inclusion we have. It can be gender diversity, and also there are various diversities that we are looking into. We need to make sure we our processes are more inclusive, and get consultation from various perspectives and various people, and reduce biases as much as possible. Now those concepts, what we talk about, the sustainability and the diversity, equity, inclusions kind of concepts, are foundation pillars of responsible AI, which is an emerging topic in the artificial intelligence. In this perspective, we are looking into AI ethics, the privacy, data governance, the compliance. I'm sure you already heard GDPR kind of, and NIST kind of framework, which focused compliance. Then diversity, equity, inclusion, like human-centered machine learning. I include this book. I've read that book. It was written one of my friend in India. So that's written by comparing Buddhist philosophy. I include that because Sri Lanka, it is more relevant. It is easy to understand for Sri Lankans to AI ethics in Buddhist perspective. There are many books and papers around the AI ethics, and AI ethics also emerging. We are these days more focused on sustainable AI, responsible AI, and AI ethics. And there are various areas we can apply. If you look into some sustainable development goals, like life below water, we can see that Sri Lanka is surrounded by a ocean, and I added the Ptolemy's map. If you can see in the Ptolemy's map, the Sri Lanka, the tetrabane, you can identify how important the Sri Lanka for the ancient world. When Ptolemy draw this ancient map, Sri Lanka is represented much bigger, proportionally much bigger, and it is comparatively equal to the size of India. And he drew that map because that Sri Lanka was a center in the ancient world. And today also in many industrial and sustainability perspectives, Sri Lanka is important, and it is situated in the center of Indian Ocean. And there are many conferences, United Nations Ocean Conference, and then also there are small island developing states conference, and many conference emerging, focusing more relevant topics to Sri Lanka. And if we focused this data, AI, and sustainability, and the sustainable development goals, there are a lot of opportunities. We can establish a very relevant projects for our economy and industries, and we can build our awareness, skills, knowledge, culture around this. Not only that, there are many other sustainable development goals initiatives, like transportation, and then higher education for sustainability. If you go into sustainable development goals, You can hear me, right? Hello?
Yes, doctor, we can hear you, Dr. Mahendra.
Okay,
We can hear
cool.
you.
Thank you. If you go into sustainable development goals, the quality education is the fourth sustainable development goals. And there are some other sustainable development goals related to industry innovations and infrastructure, sustainable cities and communities. So there are a lot of relevant topics are discussed in this in related to sustainable development goals and decent jobs for youth. And these topics are very relevant. If I go to, I saved a couple of, for example, so you can go into United Nations and you can uh, you can uh, you can look into you can look into you can look into these conferences and you can write a proposal. You can think of a collaboration and then partnerships, and you can uh, solve those problems. Now, in this perspective, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals work as a global vision, and it promotes shared values, and it promotes diversity, equity, inclusion. Many countries want different cultures bring into this problem space, and that's quite a good opportunity for Sri Lanka. And we can use this framework to solve local problems with global vision in a collaborative way. Now, I also want to talk about I also want to talk about Industry 4.0 and economic prosperity. Now, Industry 4.0 is the fourth industrial revolution, which is an emerging topic. There are a couple of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are relevant for the Industry 4.0, SDG 8, 9, and 12. 8, 9, and 12. If we go into 8, 9, and 12, you can see decent work and economic growth. Ninth one is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. 12th is responsible consumption and production. Now, these are one of the key areas in the Industry 4.0. There are a lot of many technologies talk in this IoT. AI is work as a cornerstone, but there are other technologies like IoT, blockchain. I saw that there are a lot of discussions going in IESL related to blockchain, which is very important for supply chain management and different perspectives. And then robotics, data science are all important in this Industry 4.0. And that is also that businesses should focus. Other than the sustainability, I am now moving from sustainability to economic prosperity. So AI has identified a key enabler for the productivity, and it's identified it has been identified more than 40% productivity improvement with AI, and it create a lot of new revenue opportunities, and it create digital workspace and bring new people and cultures to the work environment, and quite a lot of opportunities. And IESL should focus this Industry 4.0 concepts and strategies. And in Australian Computer Society recently communicated building Australia's digital future. Yeah, in that framework, they identified this digital transformation and AI transformation is crucial for their success. Now, in this perspective, they also talk about boosting technology, diversity, equity, inclusions in the within the technology professions, and also they encourage these AI and data education in schools, and then improving the workforce digital skills, and then build a digital economy. Now, we know in Sri Lanka that very few people go to university after A level, and because of that, we need to enhance our vocational training with these emerging technologies, and we should focus communicating these concepts and teaching to high school, as well as those who couldn't enter to the university, because we need quite significant human resources and leaders. Only the people who enter on, that means people who entered only to universities, is not enough. We need a huge workforce work on this digital economy, and human resource are key to success in this space. And there should be education reforms and policies established to bring more people into this domain. And I have seen there are in ICT, I recently go through their website that they promote entrepreneurs, and it is very important. Many entrepreneurs emerge in the AI sector and the digital transformation sector and the data and new industry 4.0 related companies. And not only that, there are many global online marketplaces. Anyone can go into Fiverr like freelance marketplaces and produce services, and AI, data analytics, and digital transformation related services are quite important that Sri Lanka focus, and I think IESL can promote this, and with working with relevant people. And the national policies, establishing national policies around this AI and digital space is very important. Now, in Australia, Australian Computer Society proposed establishing a parliamentary office of science and technology and creating cabinet level digital economy portfolio, and establishing a commission to evaluate these tomorrow's workforce requirements. Now, as I mentioned in the first slide, AI and data is a significant contributor to future GDP growth, and we are in a critical time period. Lot of countries and state, like many organizations, fiercely compete in this domain. And as I mentioned, like developed and developing countries, GDP growth is not uniform. That we and developing countries has some disadvantages, and this is the time that that Sri Lanka should focus establishing right policies and education reforms to enable these strategies for drive future first businesses. And recently we saw there are quite different crises happen in Sri Lanka. One happened because of a fertilizer issue, and there's another issue occurred in the ocean, which polluted the ocean around Sri Lanka. And if we think these sustainability principles, and if we can make this sustainability framework as a lens to look into certain problems, we can see that many problems can effectively solve through sustainability principles. Now, it is very important that leaders and also entrepreneurs and people who work on this space think how to keep sustainability at the forefront of decision making. And in that way, it is quite easy to solve many problems that we previously unable to solve, because it brings collaborations, partnerships, diversity, equity, inclusions, different viewpoints, and it's leaders in responsibility uh, uh, promoting these concepts and solve promoting these concepts to solve problems. And there are various other frameworks that we can discuss, but the underlying concepts are more or less what we discussed. That if you are strong in understanding, awareness in sustainable development goals, we can easily identify many other frameworks. So these are a couple of frameworks that these two frameworks I developed. I present this AI governance frameworks for United Nations like last year, how to govern AI, focusing on organizations AI. That means focusing sustainability and diversity, equity, inclusion. Uh, so thank you very much. And I think that we discussed quite a lot of key success factors that we want to aware uh, to success in this AI transformation, which is key success factor of the future sustainability and economic growth. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Mahendra. So, any question? I think you can unmute your mic, I believe. So you can unmute your mic and ask questions.
Yes, they can unmute themselves.
Yeah. Any question? Dr. Mahendra, do you have any branch worldwide on your Center for Sustainable AI, or it is only on Australia?
It's only on Australia, but we are globally reach. We are work collaboratively with some countries.
Okay.
I think for Sri Lanka also can take part in that. Like if you have a good project, there are opportunities to collaborate.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So any other, I mean, this is out of the box question on this dollar crisis in Sri Lanka. What is your thought to bring dollars into the country? I mean, like other than, getting the project. So any idea in terms of AI projects or anything related to your area?
I think we need to build trust, and then in governance, and like, because there are a lot of issues in Sri Lankan legislation and policy making, which cause quite a lot of issues. I think we need to revisit and build trust, uh, and I'm sure a lot of Sri Lankans overseas, and also there are quite a lot of opportunities we can identify through SWOT analysis, or there are various ways we can identify a lot of opportunities if everything, that means the basics, trust building and bringing diversity to these processes that what we execute currently. If we make sure that our governance framework, governance structures, and our decision makings are and our ethics and our mindset as a country enhance, then I'm sure there are a lot of opportunities that Sri Lanka can go a long way. There's no issue of that. But I don't, that means I'm not expert in that, in that way telling you how to bring dollars. But I'm sure like there are quite a lot of opportunities for Sri Lanka because of its strategic location, because of the diverse culture and the lot of diversities in Sri Lanka as an island geographical location, and the education system and people's mindset. I know that Sri Lanka is quite strong for like the courage, like we prove in lot of many times we are more resilient for a lot of things, but still we need certain basic things, particularly related to policies and trust. Not that means this trust is like this trust, building trust require quite a lot of factors, but if we make everything that means if we make the basic things right, I think there are immense opportunities.
Thank you, Dr. Mahendra. Thank you. Any questions from the audience?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Hello.
Sir, I have one suggestion. So that's we are every time talking the sustainable goals, and we are just only we are restricted only for the forum or either speeches or like that. So I think there should be somebody, or either organization or the institute, take the initiative to take up the challenges. Let's think that we have a lot of resources like ilmenite, and we are not going to investigate the capacity and the potential that we can gain from the for the economic. So in that case, who should undertake those tasks? Either I think the ISL is as an engineering organization, and the council we have formed recently. I think the IESL launched regarding the historical. So they have some forum like that they have formed. So likewise, we have to take the initiative as ISL members to take that challenge for the benefits of the country. So how about your views, sir?
I think if IESL want, you can establish these key strategic, you can establish these projects, you can initiate, you can write a good proposal, and you can articulate these strategic important projects, right? And also as the body, as the engineering body of Sri Lanka, now
I think we have unmuted, doctor. You can continue. Sorry for that.
Yeah, so I think now, as I mentioned, now this is there is a responsibility for the legislation also, work with the Engineers Australia kind of body to identify, get consultation, and execute these projects, because for some of the international level partnerships, collaborations, get having support from the legislation is important. Like in Australia, for example, they are talking about cabinet level strategy, and then establishing parliamentary office for science and technology, and then get consultation. What are the key strategic what should be the key strategic initiatives for future resilience? Now IESL, I think, has a responsibility to drive the technology, do a relevant consultation, and establish these projects and proposals, and explore new opportunities through the emerging technologies and Industry 4.0, because you have the right knowledge and skills in these domains when it comes to AI transformation and digital transformation. Now you can document this, explore this, articulate this, and you can do relevant strategic analysis and identify feasibilities and potential opportunities, and then we can work with relevant parties through this global vision. We can bring United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as a global vision to solve our local problems, and we can get support, and a lot of people happy to help in this perspective. But you need to make sure that you do a method like you show good communications and presentation skills. You should build the trust in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, and you should do a right analysis with the data, and you need to present that in a way that you taken data informed decision making. So that these are very important aspects of before going into collaborations and partnerships. Those are very important success factors.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Man. There is a question from Nihal Kure. He's saying, he says,
Hello, I think you are muted.
Sorry, yeah. He says, Mr. Nihal Kure says, Sri Lanka has been living with the problem of very high food loss or post-harvest losses. Do you have any suggestion for using AI? Because it contributes to hunger reduction.
So what you need to do in that perspective, you need to collect the data, right? And you need to, now hunger and the poverty is the first two United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And there are opportunities that Sri Lanka has in this space if you collect the relevant data from and then articulate this as a critical problem, and then there are opportunities. We can go into broader partnerships and collaborations. I have strong belief that that's true. That's idea is true, but IESL need to collect the data, and then need to identify the root cause analysis, and then you need to look into various like if you need to do this pest spill analysis, for example. Now you need to identify what are the political, economic, social, technology, environment, and legal issues which bring us to that level. And then we need to as a first step, you need to mitigate further risks, and then we need to identify what are our strength, weakness, and threat, and we need to articulate a project, and then we need to check who are the possible partners and collaborators aligning with UN Sustainable Development Goals. There are opportunities, no doubt about that, but we need to articulate that, and we need to do some analysis. We need to collect the data, and then we need to report, and we need to forecast certain issues that might happen, and then we need to identify the root causes, and then we need to try to find a solution to those identified root causes. So it's better that we start that sooner than later.
Thank you, Dr. Mahendra. Thank you. So any other questions? Okay. So I will hand it over to Engineer Achini. Engineer Achini, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to present here to express my vote of thanks. Firstly, on behalf of IT and Computer Engineering Sectional Committee, we wish to express our sincere gratitude to IESL President, Secretary, and staff. Very special thanks to Dr. Mahendra Samaravikrama, who has given his precious time to conduct this session. And we are thankful to him for sharing his immense knowledge on AI with our engineering community. Once again, many thanks, Dr. Mahendra, to enable this evening to have a successful event. Also,
Thank you.
I think this...
Thank you, Achani. It's my pleasure as well to do this presentation. Yeah, it's great that you got some idea. Thank you.
Also, I'll take this opportunity to thank our organizing committee of IT and Computer Engineering Sectional Committee for helping us to arrange this public lecture. We are organizing this kind of events to uplift IESL in all aspects. So finally, I extend my big thanks to all the participants who make this event successful. Thank you, everyone. Have a pleasant day and stay safe.
Thank you. Good night. Yeah.
Good night. Good night. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you all. Thank you, Engineer Achini.
Thank you, Dr. Mahendra.
Thank you, Achani. Thanks. Bye.